joining us for Our Amazing Kids. I'm Janelle, and today I'm joined by two big kids, Amalia and Tia, and we're going to talk to you about horses, horse rescue, and horse care.
Excellent.
Yay! So Tia, you are involved with horses in many ways.
In a professional sense, but I've been involved with horses since I was my whole entire life. My whole family rides. So
Oh, wow.
I've never not had horses in my life. I don't know what it's like to not have them around me.
Oh,
They're-
that's amazing.
That's just who I am.
Yeah.
Just part of who I am.
Oh, that's great. And Amalia, what's your passion with horses?
I love horses. I'm horse crazy, as they say. I don't ride much, but I'd love to get into it. So I'd really like to learn today about how a beginner, maybe somebody who's a little bit scared of a majestic beast of an animal, would start to ride. I like to spend my time imitating horses and also talking to horses. That's where my experience lies.
And how do you imitate a horse?
Well, I like to look at pictures of horses, artwork, oil paintings and such, and I like to make the same faces that the horses are making. I don't know if you've noticed, but there are a lot of Victorian horse paintings, and the horses always have a bizarre look on their face. It's very fun, and I try to get into the head of the horse and really make that face.
I love
Interesting.
I really like to get into that as a
fun.
horse person. You know, you don't see the horses in the wild don't make the same faces as these horses above the piano.
That is true. That
They-
is true. They do not.
I also like to gallop a lot. I can't.
So you're
skip
just a
very
big
well.
kid at heart.
Yes.
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 I love it. And you too, obviously. Yes. Lovely. So what do you do with horses now? What's your current?
So I'm a professional horse trainer.
Oh.
So I train horses and I also give riding lessons. So beginners, teach them about horses, horse care, all of that stuff, as well as riding. We have 17 horses at my barn right now.
Oh my gosh, are all of them yours?
No.
Oh, wow.
No. We have we run boarding, so we board for people that can't have horses at their home, and then lessons and training. So I have a couple of horses that are mine that I use just strictly for lessons. I have some that I compete on. Some are owned by people that board there, and they take lessons. Usually, most of my boarders take lessons with me, and then the others are outside horses that come in for training. So they're with me from 30 days to 3 months, 4 months.
Oh, wow.
How neat.
Yeah.
So you mentioned competing.
Yes.
What kind of competitions do you do?
I personally compete, I barrel race.
Oh, cool.
And that's something I didn't get into until I
Wow.
was like almost in my 20s. I grew up in a family that we showed. We did
Okay.
Western pleasure and reining horses and stuff, so I wasn't into the speed competition events.
Yeah, barrel racing is pretty intense.
Got hooked on it when I was, 18, 19 years old, and that's, I do other types of competitions too, but for me, that is the most fun. You're not competing against anybody except for yourself, really. It's a clock. It's a timed event, so you either made improvements or you didn't. It's not anybody's opinion, and it's fun. I love going fast, so.
Do some horses like that intense barrel racing and other horses like to be fancy show ponies?
Yes. Yeah,
I-
they're all different. It's so funny. They are all different.
So the horses have their own personalities.
They do. They
Okay.
do, absolutely. And you're not going to get a horse to go out and compete at a speed event if they don't love what they're doing. They're not.
No matter what you do.
They're not going to go fast for you and work hard if they don't enjoy it. And it's the same for the ones that you see in the show ring. If they don't enjoy that being slow and laid back and easy going, they're not going to perform well at it, just like us.
Yeah.
If we
Right.
don't enjoy it, we're not going to do well at it.
That's what I was thinking as you were talking about that, is like how much that is like a human and,
It is.
and other animals, is like we all have our own personalities, and so we need to find the horse that fits the personality of what we're looking to do.
Definitely.
Oh,
And
I
that's
love
something
that.
when I get new
Neat.
horse owners come in, that we talk about what are your goals before we even talk about purchasing a horse. What are your goals? So when they're ready to purchase a horse, we go out and find something that's well suited for whatever the owner is hoping to do with that horse. A lot of it comes down to breeding also, believe it or not.
So owning a horse
yeah.
requires a lot of, well, Tell me, what does owning a horse require? Like before you even go to buy a horse, there's work that needs
There
to
is
be
a
done.
ton of work that needs to be done. You need to learn about proper feed and care and nutrition. One of the things that I spend a lot of time talking to new potential owners about is the costs that are involved. It's not like you went and got a dog or a cat.
Which is still really expensive.
It is really
Yeah.
expensive, but
This is more like a house down payment on a house purchase.
it really is.
Oh,
It really
wow.
is. And I don't tell people that to scare them, but I want them
No,
to be
but you
prepared.
gotta know.
Absolutely, yeah.
You want them to be prepared.
Yeah.
And it's not the cost of buying the horse, which is not cheap, but it's the cost of owning them. If you're boarding a horse, you're looking at anywhere from $300 to $800-900 a month just to house them and feed them. That doesn't-
Responsibly.
Yes, responsibly. And that doesn't
Right.
include nutritional supplements. That doesn't include shoeing or trimming. That has to be done every 6 to 8 weeks. You can't do it once a year.
Oh, wow, okay.
Vet costs, dental, vaccinations, all those things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's something that people really need to go in with their eyes wide open.
Yeah. There's always those surprising costs of the vet costs and stuff. That's what I think
Exactly.
of when I think of owning a pet or something. Is like,
Right.
even if you can afford the everyday part of it, there's
You've gotta
always
have
those
some-
surprises and those other things that can happen.
Yeah.
So even with boarding, you're not getting rid of that responsibility. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
You're just making sure that someone that's extremely responsible can help you out a little bit because
Yes.
the horses need so much interaction, so
Yeah.
much more than a dog or a cat or fish, of course. But also, you have to monitor their eating so much.
Yeah.
I was so surprised. I learned so many things in this past year about horses living at a really close proximity to so many horse farms, like black walnuts being so poisonous to the horses that if you have black walnut even on your hand, it can be poisonous to a horse.
Yeah, it's very toxic for them.
It's
Oh my gosh.
Oleander.
oleander, which is planted
Oleander.
I
everywhere.
was gonna say we have tons of that
Yeah.
around here.
Yeah.
So poisonous for
Oh
horses.
my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
They're, for such a large animal, they are very sensitive.
yes.
Very, very sensitive.
and emotionally too. I was glad that you brought that
Yeah.
up because
Yeah.
even with boarding, you would recommend that families be able to come and spend time with their horse
Absolutely.
and give them that socialization and the love and everything
And they
that
need
they
to be
crave.
ridden and they need to be exercised. You can't just put them in a stall or a pen or a paddock and leave them sit.
And they just kind of think, do you have families who think that you're going to fit that for them? So they want to come in, get a horse, leave them there, and then leave them for other people to take care of, and they can just come visit once in a while?
I really discourage that. I don't tolerate that.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it. I don't tolerate that. And
Yeah.
that's why I try and prepare people when they're thinking of owning a horse for this is what's involved. And if you can't commit to that, then you need to maybe just continue taking lessons when you're able and enjoy horses in that sense instead of, committing to actually owning a horse because it is a lot of time commitment.
Yeah.
A lot.
Right. It's almost like that when they talk about public service announcements, don't buy a bunny for Easter,
Yeah.
like don't get a little baby chick just because you think it's cute.
Don't buy your kid a
Yeah.
pony because you think it's cute. Yeah.
Right, because there is just so much more involved. I also learned this year, we had so much rain in the past couple of years in California. A lot of people didn't realize what happens with the horses eating so much grass. They can become impacted so quickly with the wet grass. Isn't there something that you
Not
have to?
so much from the wet grass. What you see more is in the spring the high sugar content in the grass. You'll see horses founder.
And what does that
What
mean?
does that
Feet.
mean?
It
Both
is
of us
their
are like,
feet.
what does that mean?
So when a horse founders, there's a ton of there's all these bones inside the hoof. And they will actually start to rotate from, too much sugar in their diet. I'm trying to condense it down where it's a little bit more understandable.
Right.
But it can become life-threatening for them. They will get,
Isn't this
I didn't know they had bones
bizarre?
in their hoofs.
Right.
Yeah, yes.
That's really
Yes.
interesting.
There's several bones inside that hoof capsule there.
Almost like our toes.
Exactly.
Wow. And so,
That's so
if they get
neat.
too much sugar, that bone starts to curl outward.
Yeah, no, they can, they gain a ton of weight and stuff, so it causes a lot of problems, so they have to be monitored. But horses do get impacted and colic very easily. If they get dehydrated, they don't drink enough, which does happen in the wintertime, believe it or not. It's cold. They don't want to drink. They're not as thirsty, just like us. You know, they get a little dehydrated. The hay doesn't move through the system. It blocks up. And horses, they can't vomit. They cannot vomit.
That's really interesting.
So they get a stomach ache. They can't vomit. They can't do anything to
Can they
relieve that
burp?
pressure.
Not
Sort of, like it would come from in here. They don't,
Right.
like, it doesn't come up the way
From the belly.
Their digestive system works differently than ours. So yeah, they
So
do get impacted, and
interesting.
it's usually from dehydration, and that can cause major problems. You know, that's a big vet bill right there.
Yeah.
You know, they have to come in and like actually run a tube down into the stomach, fill them full of fluids, hope they can break that loose so things can pass through. So yeah.
It's so interesting to me because we looked at purchasing or getting some funds together with another group of people to get a horse rescue when we first came. And this horse rescue that we were looking at had wonderful, amazing trainers and had changed hands a couple of times. And we did some research, and as we're getting into the research, we just realized that it was so much more than a financial burden that we
Right.
were looking after. I mean, essentially, it is round-the-clock care, especially if any of these animals come to you injured. Or
Oh yeah.
it's like buying a used car,
Yeah.
It's like having a child.
having a child.
Yeah.
That's what I keep
Exactly.
feeling like as we keep talking about this. It's the unknown and the nurturing, just like having a parent having kids. You just have to be there for everything, and you have to be able to provide that love and support regardless of what's happening.
And horse
Yeah.
rescues, I mean, that is a tough thing to
That
take
is
on.
a tough job.
Yeah,
it
is.
I'm sure it's completely rewarding. I know it's extremely rewarding, but for people to just jump into it, I think you really need to do your research before. It's so important to have places where you can go and be trained.
Yeah. I've
So
had
is
several.
it so much more than pet rescue, like dog and cat rescue,
Yeah.
because of the expense involved, or is there even more beyond that?
I think there's more beyond that. I've had the opportunity to work with several rescue horses in the last 2 years. And it's tough because a lot of the horses that I get in, like, generally speaking, we start them around 2 to 3 years of age. That's when you start getting them ready to accept a saddle and a rider and all of that. A lot of the rescues that we get in, we don't know their history. We don't know if they've been starved. We don't know, you don't ever get the full story on them. And they come in, and a lot of them that I've had in the last few years have been older. They're 8, 9, 10 years old. So you get a horse that age, and they're very set in their ways, you know, and it's very difficult for them physically and mentally to get them to a point where they're a safe riding partner for someone. It usually takes quite a bit more time to get them to that point. And some of them just have so much baggage. You know, there's twice in the last 2 years I've had to just say, this is not going to happen. It doesn't matter how much work I put in. And that's hard as a trainer to say,
I bet.
oh my gosh, I can't help this horse. Like they're just too damaged. And it's tough. It's tough to sit there and go, if somebody can give them a good home on a pasture as a lawn
Walking.
ornament.
Yes, a
which
walking
is
horse.
basically what they are, a lawn ornament.
Right.
That would be great, but unfortunately people that own horses, they own them because they want to ride and enjoy them that way, so it's really hard to find a permanent placement for those types of horses. So it goes beyond just the care. There's, with these horses that wind up in rescue situations, it's a little bit tougher to find permanent placement for them.
Agree. And do you find when you meet these horses, either rescues or horses that are coming to you boarding, do you immediately, can you look at the horses and have a connection with them? Because you've been around horses for so long, you're such an incredible horsewoman. Can you really judge that horse when you see them?
I would say you can get a good feel off of one within the first 15, 20 minutes of working with them. But it's not like they come off the trailer and I look at them and we lock eyes and I'm like, oh, I can, it doesn't work that way. I wish it did. My life would be so much easier.
Right.
But, they
The
don't
horse
speak
whisperer.
English,
Yeah.
so we have to learn how to communicate with them, and it takes a little bit of time working with them. Usually 15, 20 minutes in, I can get a pretty good sense of who they are and how they react to things and whether or not they're going to be something we can work with. Every once in a while, though, you'll run into one that 2 weeks down the road, you're like, ooh, where'd that come from? You know, like.
Right. That's how I feel. A lot of the
Yeah.
horses that I've met, you meet them a couple of times and they act one way, and then you meet them again and bad or good, not negative or positive, but all of a sudden they bring something out from their personality that you were never expecting.
Yeah.
Or they decide, oh, we're going to be best friends. Take 2 years of
Yeah.
seeing a horse every day, and then,
So
you know.
again, so much like people.
So
Very
much
much.
like people.
Right?
Day
Very much.
700, they decided, oh, you're my best friend now.
Right.
That's very
Yeah.
bizarre to me.
Yeah. They're different.
Because of you, I felt hopeless.
I know it was a joke, but it still hurt me.
Because of you, I felt wanted and not alone in this world.
Because you said hi to me on the first day of school, I felt included and I knew that I was going to be okay.
Well, I would like to take this in a direction of writing.
Writing.
So if we have viewers, we have kids who are really interested and want to ride, do they have to go get a horse, buy a horse, put it someplace to be boarded, and that's the way they can ride? Or do we have the opportunity to just go and take riding lessons places and be able
There
to?
are lots of places in Nevada County for kids to take riding lessons.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's several barns with some great trainers with different programs. You know, we all have kind of our own specialty. So I would recommend for any kids that are looking to get into riding, that their parents want to see if they're interested in that, take them to a professional, get lessons, figure out what direction that they want to go, make sure they're really committed to this before you go out and buy that horse, because that's how some of those horses wind up in rescue. Somebody went and bought the horse, the kid lost interest, it was too much work, it was too expensive, off they go to the sale, you know?
Right. Do people rent horses or like co-op horses sometimes? In
So-
Florida, I feel like that happens a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, there are options like lease options through some barns do offer, you know, like a lease option, like you pay X amount a month and you have riding privileges Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or, you know, whatever the arrangement is.
Okay.
There's
Yeah,
also
could
options.
share a horse.
Yeah. There's also feed lease options where people, you know, say, hey, you can lease my horse out. The person leasing the horse takes full responsibility for all the feed and care and everything on that horse, but they don't have to purchase it.
That's interesting.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are options.
So there are ways to work with it and be able to honor that passion or discover that passion,
Right.
Without making the big investment up front.
The big leap, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, what age do you think is the perfect age to start riding? Any age, like any limitations
Any
or?
age, you know, I've had kids come in that were as young as 3, and it just kind of depends on their motor skills,
Wow.
Yeah.
you know, and their attention span, and how bad do they want to ride. And I've
Yeah.
had people that are in their late 60s that decided, I want to learn how to ride. So whenever, you know, if
Whenever.
somebody wants to learn.
Yes.
Go out and do it, experience it. It's amazing. I
So
don't know what
great.
normal people do without horses.
I love that.
I don't.
Normal
What did
people.
normal people do? I don't know. I spend all my time on a horse. I have no idea.
Well, I actually love where you guys took
fantastic.
this, because here's what I want to talk about next.
Yes.
We know that there are all these wonderful programs for children with special needs, and that horses serve in that industry very, very well.
Yes.
Can you share with us why that is, and maybe some of those programs or what you know about those programs?
There's a couple of programs around here. I know Ride to Walk down in Lincoln is one of them.
Okay.
And I think it's very grounding for kids with special needs. It's very grounding. There's something about connecting with that horse on an emotional level, but also on a physical level, just the way that they move. You know, it's just very grounding for them. And I feel like kids with special needs, depending on what the special needs are, like, it gives them some freedom. It gives them some freedom to experience something that most of the population really honestly doesn't ever get to experience.
Yeah.
So I think that it's really beneficial for the kids in that sense. I think it's wonderful what some of these programs are doing. I can't think of the other, there's another one around here too, and I cannot think of the name of it right now, but I know Ride to Walk down in Lincoln does a lot of that.
Okay. That's wonderful.
But yeah, it's really wonderful. And I know for myself, as my mom grew up on a horse farm, and she loves horses so much. And she one time tried to show me how to feed wild horses out in Florida in the middle of this huge prairie. And it got pretty scary. And so from the time that I was maybe 12 years old until almost 40, I didn't ride a horse. I was not interested. I was interested in staying far away and waving at them. And when I finally got up the courage to get on a horse, she decided that she would rear up immediately. Another horse bit her in the leg as I was riding her. So it just a freak thing that happened. And luckily I wasn't thrown off, but I was able to just kind of hunker down, and I kayak a lot. So I thought, oh, what would you do if a dolphin went under you? Kind of just hunker down and grab those reins and did it. And I was so frightened, but not at that moment. At that moment, all I was thinking was, what do I need to do to calm this?
Self-preservation.
Yeah. And to calm this horse down, like, let's both not freak out. And I realized at that moment that I was trying to work with this animal in a different way. And when we were done, I felt so confident that we had just accomplished something together, had this unseen communication, like, this other horse was a jerk and bit you. We're gonna calm down, it's all right, we can handle this, and got off. And I feel like now, having that a little bit frightening first time, I will definitely get back on a horse. I don't know what would happen if she would have thrown me. Luckily, she
Right.
didn't. You know, she knew.
Yeah.
She was like, okay, we can do this. I was like, we can do this. But I definitely think for any kid, getting to ride a horse just gives you this different sense
Yeah.
of accomplishment that you,
It's very empowering
yeah,
to make
it's
that connection
so
with that
empowering.
animal and work together as a team, because really that's what it is. You're working as a team.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking as she was talking. I'm like, you guys created a relationship.
Yeah.
Like, in that moment of trauma, this relationship was created, and they found they could trust each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it's very empowering, and I think for kids to learn that at a young age, especially, I love the little girls that come in like right before they hit teenagers. It's such a confidence builder for them, and it's so empowering for them to be able to go ride this horse and have that connection and work together as a team. And I mean, they're huge, you know, they're 1,000,
enormous.
1,200 pounds, but to be able to feel that sense of accomplishment, I think does so much for their self-esteem.
Absolutely.
For the girls and the boys.
Agreed.
But I think it's amazing. So another program that's out there that you might want to put the word out for the kids is the 4-H kids. There's a Nevada County 4-H horse group now, and it's been kind of, you know, they're
didn't know
really
there was a
trying to
horse
build
one.
it up.
They're
this
just building
year.
it, right?
Yes, they're building
bunch
it up.
of new people have come in.
Yes. So the Nevada County 4-H horse group is fantastic, and they do have a group for kids that don't own horses where they can still learn
That's
about
neat.
horses. So that's something else I think is really important, and I always encourage parents, get your kids in 4-H, get your kids in 4-H. So-
4-H was the most important thing to me growing up. We did pig races in Florida a lot. That was our thing. And we would do like kiss a pig contests at school where everyone would donate money to see which teacher had to kiss the pig. So 4-H was very popular at
Yes.
my school, incredibly popular. And here we have this beautiful festival that's as big as the fair, the Horseman Show.
the craft,
Draft Horse
Horse
Classic.
Yes,
That is
Whoa,
phenomenal. I
that
love going
is-
to that.
it's amazing.
Really neat.
It really is.
There's
There's all
really
the
a
Budweiser
lot.
horses, the Clydesdales. I love those.
Yeah.
They're so majestic looking. You used that word earlier. And
Yeah.
Their
they
feet are
just-
like this.
Right.
They're huge. Yes. They're
And
enormous.
you see them in the pictures of the Budweiser commercials, whatever, and but you get up close to one, it's very intimidating.
Yes.
They are
They're
big
huge.
horses.
They're enormous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So what kind of horses are popular here? I know that there are so many different kind of horses. Where I'm from, the Morgans are really popular. And then we do get a lot of paint horses who are just spotted, look like Dalmatian horses. And They always, I think they're kind of comical looking.
Like
They-
the Appaloosas or the paints?
The paints.
The paint?
I think the paints are so funny because they always give you dramatic faces and they just look very ironic to me. The Appaloosa,
You
the Dapple
relate well
Grays.
to them, don't you?
I relate really well to horses. People call me Baby Horse. That's, yeah.
I love that.
Definitely. And the Appaloosas that are so beautiful here. And there's a really stocky horse that is here that I can never remember the name of. It's like a,
There's a lot of different types of horses and barns and training barns in this area.
Yeah.
There's, Megan at Grand Finale Stable, she does Morgans. We've got several Arab trainers and breeders in the area for the Arabian horses. There's a lot of people own quarter horses in the area. There's, so it's really diverse. There's a lot of different things going on in this area with horses. It's not, it's all over the place. There's people that are showing minis. There's, it's
Yeah.
everything. And then you go even to the fair and you watch the demos. You see the Easleys packing their mules.
yeah.
You see, the draft horses
I like
pulling
the
the
demos.
carts.
I'm
You
really
see,
into the demos.
there's a huge variety of things going on with horses in Nevada County.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Do you compete in the rodeo or the rodeo?
The rodeo.
Yeah. Or the rodeo.
Rodeo.
Well, there's the rodeo.
There's like, that kind of goes like shops and chops.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, so what I do mostly is I jackpot. So
What is that?
That,
barrel race. It's strictly just barrel racing. Like the little local rodeos like Penn Valley and stuff. I'll do some of those here and there. I haven't done any in the last couple of years, but mostly we just jackpot race. So we go to these races that are strictly just barrel horses. Some of them, there'll be 600 horses there.
oh my
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
And you compete, and it's timed, and it's for money and prizes. So that's
It's so neat.
Yeah.
It's so fun to watch. And there's such a camaraderie there, especially, among the men, of course, there are cowboys, horsemen.
Yes.
But the horse women competing, it's a really amazing
It
thing
is.
to watch.
It's a community. It really is. And I really love my barrel racers that I barrel race with. I have some amazing friends that I've made over the years just in the horse industry. Not even just the barrel races, but in the horse industry itself. I've just met so many amazing people. It's a great group of people.
I have a feeling we know a few of the same people, and
Probably.
it's
From the
just because I know
country.
the area you're from, and then I know a lot of women and young girls who've grown up doing barrel racing and
Yeah.
some other stuff.
Oh
through
my
that.
gosh.
So,
What's the one called? I bet you did this when you were a kid, where you have the sort races. Is that like sort and pick where they number?
The cattle.
Yeah, they number the
there's,
cattle.
Yeah, there's team pinning and there's team sorting.
Team pitting and team sorting.
That's so fun.
so
It is so much fun.
fun.
It is. It's
Oh
great.
my
Working
gosh.
cattle on horses is a lot of fun.
And it's so silly, and people really are still doing this today.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're doing this at their farms, working farms. That's what they're doing, and it seems like a lot of the events that I go to are just expositions where
Yeah.
they're betting on it, they're winning money.
Yeah.
I think that's really fun too.
Prizes,
give you little,
money, yeah.
yeah.
fun.
And it's like mother-daughter combos, and they're sorting the cows together, and someone's calling numbers, and you have to push the cow out that's in the right number. And if they're if you do them out of line, you're out.
Yeah, out of order.
That's the game.
That's sorting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
that sounds fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. And you
really
see
fun.
a lot of families. You see a lot of families involved in these events, especially when you go to like rodeos. There's junior rodeos and high school rodeos and professional rodeos and local rodeos, but you always see families. Lots of family.
I
Everything's
love that.
very
So-
family oriented.
Even though it's an individual sport, it's a family.
It's a family affair.
event.
Yes.
Affair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
That's really
I love that
nice.
about it too. I like that.
Yeah.
I love that community, the sense of community and family that you see in the sport of rodeo. I think is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
I have a 14-year-old son who's incredibly anxious and wants to ride a horse so bad. And I have
Oh,
several friends
really?
who have them, but we've just never managed. So I'm going to have to call you and bring my son over and get him on a horse.
I would love
We
that.
should
We've
all
got some boys at my barn that like to ride. So
Nice. Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
Before we go, you're going to have to tell us about your belt buckle. It looks really special.
So this
Beautiful.
this is an older buckle that I have, and it's kind of smashed up and beat up. But it was the horse that I won this on is 25 this year.
Wow.
Yeah, and this was the first buckle
your
I
buddy.
ever won on her.
That's cool.
It's probably it's not the oldest buckle I have, but one of the older buckles that I have. And it just has some
So
sentimental
pretty.
value because I worked so hard with that horse to finally, actually win a buckle on her.
Yes.
And it was the first one that I ever won on her. And so I don't know, it's always just kind of been special because I still have her. She's retired, obviously. She's in her late 20s now, and she's getting up there, and her health's not so good and stuff. And I actually have a yearling baby from her.
Really?
Yeah. That will be starting next year as a 2-year-old and
What's her-
hopefully barrel racing on. But
And what's her name?
the baby or the
Both.
so the older mare, her barn name is Maggie. Her registered name is Iadora Wine. She's a quarter horse, running quarter horse.
I love that. So pretty.
Yeah, and the filly's name is Paula. That's her barn name. We
Aw.
haven't got her registered name
Paula.
done yet. They haven't sent all the paperwork back, so we'll have to see. You have to submit several suggestions, so we'll see.
So Paula's going to carry on the tradition.
Hopefully, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
So,
One last question. You brought up the age of your horse, 25. What is the time span or lifespan of a horse generally?
usually late 20s, early 30s,
Oh,
and a
okay.
lot of it kind of just depends on care and maintenance. The better you care for them, the longer they live. Same with us, everything else. But yeah, late 20s, early 30s is pretty much average.
Okay.
We don't have them for a long time, so,
Make the most of your time.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Oh, I
So
love that.
terrific.
Well, thank you so much, ladies. This has
Thank
been
you.
an absolute
Really
delight.
nice.
And we all got to be little kids again
I know.
today and feed that inner child and
Do.
share that with
I
all
always-
the kids that we get to watch and play with. So
Agree.
I love that.
Really nice.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Very good. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Our Amazing Kids. Catch us next time.